Welcome to the Ellis podcast.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining the show again today. This is going to be a really quick one. I just want to focus on my Week 3 MLB power ratings, power rankings. I don't know whether to call it rankings or ratings. I think I've differentiated it in the titles of my podcast. I don't even know if you guys care, so I'll try to be more consistent. I will call it power ratings. How's that? There's a lot to get to, and again, this is going to be a short one, but this week I do want to talk about WrestleMania. I want to watch the Raw tonight and get the full story of the weekend of WrestleMania. Overall, you know, the matches were okay. I would even say maybe a little bit subpar. Don't love that they didn't spend a lot of time with these matches. You know, the first night, I think there were 2 matches that were 10 minutes or longer. The rest came in under 10 minutes. I've heard a lot of complaints for those watching on TV that there was so much commercial time, and I have to agree with that. I mean, we would go to these commercial breaks that were 3 minutes, 4 minutes in length, and we never had that before. It was just action after action. So I get it. WWE needs to make some money. ESPN wants to make their money. So they're going to have more commercial breaks. That's okay if it doesn't take away from the quality in the ring. And I just felt like they had a set amount of time they wanted to work with, and that's what they stuck to, and it just took away from some of the matches. The other thing I'll say about it is that overall, like if you compare it to AEW doesn't care. And I also complain about that because on a Sunday night show that starts at, you know, a 0 hour at 7 p.m., and I'm up until 12:30 in the morning still watching, you know, I criticize that as well. So it's probably not fair that I'm talking out of both sides, but I kind of like to just meet in the middle somewhere. But as far as getting into the nuts and bolts of WrestleMania, excited to talk about it. There is a lot to talk about there. And I think I'm going to spend a little more time on pro wrestling because I'm just into it. I just watched WrestleMania. I think I said this, WrestleMania 8 from Indianapolis, and it is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. I really thought it was an awesome card. The Bret Hart, Roddy Piper match was phenomenal. One of my top 50 WrestleMania matches of all time. And the Randy Savage World Championship match with Ric Flair, absolutely top 50 of all time for me. And that's the first time I've watched those matches. So, and then the impactful match with Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice at the time. It wasn't a great match, but it was a meaningful match. There was a lot to it. So really good card. But enough of that. Before I get into this, and I'm not even going to put a break in here, we're going to get right to it. If you could, if you like these podcasts, make sure to, number one, give it a thumbs up if you like the episode, but also subscribe to it, because the more subscribers I get, I think that draws more people to it, ultimately leads to a better audience, allows me to give you a better product regularly. So that's important. If you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, follow me on X. For some reason, I am just not getting the X followers. I used to have X accounts, and I could get 300, 400, 500 people pretty easily. For whatever reason, I go to this pro account with a little blue check mark and stuff, and it's like pulling teeth to get followers. I don't post a ton, but I post a lot. And so, yeah, if you could give me a follow at Tell Us Ellis HQ, that would be great. Instagram as well, although granted, I do not post to Instagram as much. I just don't have as much of a, as many things to post there. I have to get better at posting some of this video, and I need to do that on TikTok as well. But social media channels at Tell Us Ellis HQ. Then if you have questions or want to join the show, email me, Jamie at tellusellis.com, and I would be happy to have you join me or to answer your questions, or whatever it is you want to talk about. Let's do it. So I do want to get into my power rankings I did it again. I said power rankings. I want to get into my power ratings through week 3, through yesterday, and I'm putting it up on my screen right now. And yeah, let's just get into it. So this is where my ratings finished last week. Dodgers at the top and the Rockies the last team. And I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So there is a change at the bottom of my list, and I'm going to walk through that now. So I'm going to take the Rockies and the Nationals, and I'm going to move them out of the bottom because I think the Chicago White Sox are the team that deserve to be in dead last place in my ratings. The White Sox went 2-4 last week. They're 8-14 overall. They're 26th in the league in OPS. They're 27th in the league in ERA. I'm dropping them 2 spots to my 30th spot in the league. I'm gonna hone in a lot this week on team OPS and team ERA. As we go forward, I'm going to talk more about individual production, but for this week, I'm going to focus on just team numbers. And by the way, as we move out of now the very beginning of the season, we're through week 3, which really means through 3.5 weeks, you are starting to see some trends develop, and you're going to see that acknowledged here. 29th, I'm going to just move the Rockies up 1 spot, and you know what? Good for them. They were terrible last year. Still not great. They were 3-3 last week, 9-13 overall. Not bad. They're 17th in OPS, which I kind of expect them to hit better being in Colorado, but 19th in ERA. I think their pitching's done pretty well. So they have a 4.14 ERA, a 6.96 OPS. I'm going to move them up 1 spot to 29, and then I'm going to move the Nationals up also 1 spot to 28th. The Nationals... 3-4 last week, 10-12 overall. They're 5th in the league in OPS. That caught my attention. 5th in the league in OPS. When you have that type of offensive production, I don't care who you are. I don't think you deserve necessarily to be in last place. So I'm moving them up to 28th. They do have a pitching problem. Their 5.65 team ERA ranks 29th in the league. But again, I'm going to move them up 1 spot here to 28th. So what am I going to do with the 27th spot? Well, I'm going to move the Cardinals, I'm going to move the Angels, and I'm actually going to slide the Giants back 2 spots. I'm just not believing this team, and I didn't believe in them from opening night on. The Giants were 3-3 last week. They're now 9-13 overall. Not a terrible record, but their OPS is 27th in the league at a 6.58, and their ERA is 20th in the league at 4.15. I just don't think they're a very good team, so I'm going to drop them back to the 27th spot. The Cardinals, there's going to be Cardinal fans that say you are not giving this team enough love. I have them coming into my 26th spot. They were 5-1 last week, and they are now 13-8. And it is starting to get hard to ignore them a little bit. Their team OPS is tied for 13th, and their ERA, their team ERA is 4.83, which still ranks them 26th. So there's an area that I think, I'd be concerned about. But overall, 26th, that's where I have them right now. And if they keep playing well, I'm gonna keep moving them up. We'll see what they do this week. The Angels, then, I'm gonna move them up as well. The Angels, last week, they were down 1 spot. They were in St. Louis's spot. I moved them up 1 spot. They were 3-4 this week. They're 11-12 overall. They're competitive. Their OPS of 731 is 8th in baseball. And their team ERA of 3.98 is 13th in baseball. So those numbers are pretty good. Very well balanced. If the Angels keep playing the way they do, they're going to quickly move out of this bottom tier. For now, though, I have them in the 25th spot. The Marlins and Twins, I'm going to keep exactly where they were last week. The Twins went 2-4 last week. The Marlins went 2-4 last week. Both of them hovering around 500. I will say the Twins numbers, kind of like the Angels. The Twins are 11th in OPS at 713. They're 14th in ERA at 4.06. Those are good numbers. And if they keep winning and they stay in that realm of numbers, I'm going to have to appreciate them more and more. It's a team that I have not respected from the beginning of the season, and it feels like maybe it's time to start paying a little bit of attention to them. The Marlins, kind of the same way. They're 9th in OPS and 16th in ERA. 2-4 last week. They're 10-12 overall. Again, I'm going to keep them exactly, those 2 teams, where they were. All right. Now, the 22nd team, I'm moving Cleveland, I'm moving Tampa, and Kansas City is a team I am actually going to move back into the bottom tier. Kansas City last week was 0-6. They're 7-15 overall. Their 635 OPS as a team ranks 28th in the league. And maybe more alarming is their 4.61 ERA, which ranks 24th in the league. I thought they would be much better than that. I dropped Kansas City back 2 spots to the bottom tier, and right now I think they're deserving of it. And unfortunately, they haven't shown a lot. Neither has the Houston Astros, and I'm going to drop the Astros again. I'm going to drop them back into the bottom tier, and it's kind of sad to see, but they were 2-5 last week. They are now 8-15 on the season. Their OPS, they're hitting the ball. Their 777 OPS ranks 3rd in baseball, but their 6.11 ERA is dead last. Their pitching has been horrific. They've had some injuries. Framber Valdez, they lose in the offseason. They should have signed him maybe, but they didn't. So Houston gets my 21st spot and stands as the first team in my bottom tier. All right, let's go to the next tier. In my 20th team, I'm going to drop the A's back a couple of spots. They were 3-4 last week, and maybe it's unfair to drop them back as I am. They're 11-11 overall, but when I look at their numbers, again, OPS of 672, I would expect it to be higher. It's not. It's 22nd in the league. And then their ERA of 482, I knew they would struggle pitching. They're 25th in the league in ERA. So again, not a very good combination there. That's why I've dropped them back 2 spots. And again, they went 3-4 last week. Next, can you believe I'm doing this? And look, I'm just taking the Orioles, and maybe it's unfair. I watch them every day, but this is just not a team that is doing anything for me. My wife always hears me say, I hate this team. I hate this team. I just don't like the makeup of it. They were 2-5 last week, 10-12 overall, 20th in OPS at 691. Now their team ERA of 4 is 14th in the league, which isn't terrible, but I just don't like how they're playing. They're getting out to these huge holes, and then they have to battle their way back. Sometimes they don't, or sometimes they do, but mostly they don't. And I'm just not a believer right now. So I've got the Orioles coming in at number 19. Number 18, I'm going to move the Rays, and this is giving them some positive reflection here. The Rays last week were 4-2. They're now 12-9 overall. Their OPS of 714 is 10th in the league, and their team ERA of 447 is 22nd in the league. They're playing good baseball. They're playing Rays baseball. It never seems like they have enough, but they win, and they're doing it again, and they're winning. And when I look at them, they are, second in the American League East right now. So I have to give them some love. So I've got the Rays at 18th. I'm going to move Texas out. And let me just move Arizona out for a second. And I'm going to move the Guardians up to the 17th spot. The Guardians were 4-3 last week. They're 13-10 overall. And this is Guardians baseball, just like it's Rays baseball. You look at this team, you don't think they have enough. I thought at the beginning of the season, their luck ran out when they went on that big win streak at the end of last year. But this is a team, they're now 13-10. They're 18th in OPS at 694, but they're 12th in ERA at 391. Some good young pitching coming through. This is this is a big positive mover for me this week. They're up 5 spots, and I think deservingly so. When I look at the standings, they're in first place in the American League Central. Detroit's starting to breathe down their necks a little bit, but maybe this is a team that's going to remain competitive, and they do have a good young future in Cleveland. So I've got the Mets there. Now, this might be astonishing to some folks. I'm sorry, I have the Guardians there. I was thinking ahead. This might be surprising to folks, but I'm moving the Mets all the way back to my number 16 position. The Mets are playing awful baseball right now. Terrible baseball. They were 0-6 last week. Their 624 OPS ranks 29th in the league. Their ERA of 406 ranks 17th. I have them dropping 8 spots here. They've got some injuries, which is very unfortunate, but you still got to win with injuries, and they're not, and they aren't looking good at all. Do I think they'll end up here? No, I think they'll make a run and they'll be back in it, but I had to move them back. This may seem drastic, but I'm taking that drastic move. I just don't like what I've seen from them. Another team I don't like what I'm seeing from, the Red Sox. I thought they were building some positive momentum last week, or 2 weeks ago, but last week, 2-4. They're now 9-13 on the year. They rank 25th in OPS at 663. They rank 21st in team ERA at 442. I just don't like the vibe I'm getting from this team. And it's time to make decisions, and I'm moving them back. They are now my 15th team in the league. And you American League East fans aren't going to like this, but I'm taking the Blue Jays, and I'm also moving them back to this second to last tier. The Blue Jays last week were 2-4. They're now 8-13 on the year. Their OPS ranked 16th, which is okay. That's 50th percentile of the league. It's 698. Their team ERA, though, is 23rd at 456. Again, I think this is a team that's going to be back in it, but I've got to start penalizing some of these teams and then giving a reward to some teams who are playing better baseball. So I've got the Blue Jays right now at my 14th spot. I'm going to take the Tigers out, and I am going to put the Rangers in then to, let me fit them in there. I'm going to put the Texas Rangers into my 13th spot. Texas was only 3-4 last week, 11-11 overall. You might say, why did you move them up 4 spots? Well, despite their record last week, I look at how they're performing as a team, and they're 12th overall in OPS at 709. They're 9th in team ERA at 357, and I think it's worthy of moving them up. If you have those underlying good numbers, I think it's worth moving them up. Now, I did move the Diamondbacks up as well and put them actually into my 3rd tier. And the Diamondbacks don't have quite as good numbers overall as the Rangers, but they did have a good week. They're 4-2, and overall they have a better record at 13-9. Their team OPS is 18th at 694, and their team ERA of 4.01 is 15th in the league. So I moved them up 4 spots as well, giving them a little bit of love. All right, let me move out the Pirates, the Reds, and I'm moving out the Braves. So who do I have in front of the Diamondbacks? Well, I'm actually going to move the Phillies all the way back here. I gave them some love last week, and maybe I shouldn't have. They were 1-5 last week. They're 8-13 overall, not playing good baseball. 669 OPS ranks 23rd in the league. Their 484 team ERA ranks 28th in the league. They have every reason to be dropped the number of spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces this week. They're not playing good baseball right now. Another team that's not playing good baseball right now is the Mariners. And I've tried to keep them up the top as much as I can, but it was time to make a move on them. And the Mariners were 3-4 last week. Again, not terrible. They're 10-13 overall. They're just not consistent. They can't hit the ball. And I don't know if it's a stadium factor there or what, but they just always struggle hitting the ball. 24th in the league with a 667 OPS. Now, their team ERA is a very good 3.22. That's tied for second in the league. So I moved them back. Remember, these first 3 tiers represent 12 teams. There's 12 teams that make the playoffs. I'm not saying that I'm picking these 12 teams to make the playoffs, but I didn't take them out of a potential playoff spot. I'm just not giving them the love that I was. So that is where I have the Mariners. The Tigers finally started to make a move this week, which made me feel a little bit better because I really thought they'd run away with the American League Central. The Tigers went 5-1 this week. They're 12-11 overall, playing better baseball. Their OPS is tied for 13th in the league at 707. Their team ERA of 341 is 6th in the league. You're starting to see the Tigers come around now here, and I think we're going to continue to see that. So I have the Tigers 9th. A team that I did not expect to have in this 3rd tier is the San Diego Padres, but I'm putting them there. Quite frankly, they're just winning. They're 5-1 last week. They're 15-7 overall. Now, they're 21st in team OPS, which ranks 21st in the league, but their pitching is 4th in the league at 336. So really good pitching. I moved them up 6 spots. I think they deserve it. That's all I'll say about the Padres. Now, I don't know if anybody saw this coming, but I'm moving the Pittsburgh Pirates up to the 7th position. Look, Pittsburgh went 4-3 last week. They're 13-9 overall. They rank 4th in OPS at 744 and 2nd in starting pitching at 322 ERA. Those are numbers that just spell victory to me and a team worthy of being in the top 3 tiers. I think they can continue to win. I think they've got a good young core. Guys like Ryan O'Hearn are hitting the ball really well. I picked him up as my primary first baseman in fantasy baseball, thinking I'm not going to get anything out of him, and he's been really good. Yeah, there's some, Connor Griffin's struggling a little bit. Don't you expect that of a teenager, a young kid? But they're still winning, and there's a lot of positive vibes around Pittsburgh. So I moved them up. I think they're deserving of it. Number 6, I'm going to move the Yankees over, and I'm going to move the Cincinnati Reds up to number 6. Now, why, Jamie? Why move the Reds up there ahead of the Pirates? I actually moved them not ahead of the Pirates. They were ahead of the Pirates last week. I moved each of them up 4 spots. The Pirates went 4-3 last week. The Reds went 5-1 last week. The Reds are winning their division. They're 14-8. Their team ERA of 3.47 is 8th in the league. Here's the concerning spot, and the reason that I could have flip-flopped Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. The Reds' OPS is dead last in baseball at 623. They're not hitting the ball. That could come back to hurt them sooner than later. But for right now, they're winning the National League Central. I have them ahead of the Pirates. I have them in the number 6 spot. Number 5, I'm going to take the Yankees and move them to number 5, which simply means that the Yankees are up 1 spot from last week. They were 5-2 last week, 13-9 overall. Pitching continues to be really good, a 3.40 ERA, which is 5th in the league, 733 OPS, which is 7th in the league. And when I say in the league, in all of baseball, the Yankees, I think, deserve to be in these top 2 tiers, and they continue to impress me. I don't know how they do it. They didn't do a lot in free agency in the offseason, but they continue to win. Good for them. I'm going to move the Cubs out, and I'm moving the Brewers back for the first time this season. I still think the Brewers are one of the best teams in baseball. They've had some injuries as well, but the Brewers were 4-2 last week, 12-9 overall. Their OPS is 15th in the league at 705. Their ERA is 11th in the league at 385. I think they're a really, really good team. They hit a tough spot 2 weeks ago. And, when you look at this team, they're actually last in the division, or tied for last in the division, but a whopping half game out. I mean, if you look at this National League Central, the Reds are 14-8. The Cardinals are 13-8. The Pirates are 13-9. The Cubs are 12-9. The Brewers are 12-9. Just an incredible division. So I'm going to move the Brewers back a little bit, but it's still a team that I deeply believe in. Third, Chicago Cubs. Again, might surprise some people, but the Cubs were 5-1 last week. They're 12-9 overall, 6th in the league in OPS at 739. They're 10th in the league in ERA at 359. Felt like they deserved to push up a little bit. I have them as my number 3 team in the league. The Atlanta Braves are going to be my number 2 team in the league. I mean, this team just keeps incredibly impressing me. So they're 5-1 last week. They're 15-7 overall. Their team OPS is 793, which is 2nd in baseball. And their team ERA of 2.66, I said that right, 2.66, is almost a run ahead of the 2nd place team. So they lead the league in team ERA. This team has been so impressive with odds against them from a starting pitching standpoint. They've got guys coming back from starting pitching injuries midway through the year. This is a good team right now, and I absolutely worthy of the number 2 spot. I am not moving the Dodgers out of my number 1 spot. They were 4-2 last week. They're 15-6 overall. OPS, they lead the league at 857. By the way, they lead the league at an 857 OPS. Atlanta is 2nd at 793. So think about that. That's 57, 64.64 points above 2nd place Atlanta. Team ERA is very, very respectable at 3.44, which is 7th in the league. I can't flip-flop Atlanta and the Dodgers. I think that this is it's a very dominant team right now, playing like a very dominant team at 15-6. So that is my week 3 power rankings. Hopefully you all appreciate it. And if you disagree, again, I give you plenty of outlets. Put your comments, add comments to my posts, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just add comments and say, Jamie, you're on crack. You're crazy. Send me an email, jamie@tellusellis.com. And send me social media messages. Again, interact with me on social media. It's Tellus Ellis HQ on both X and on Instagram. So at Jamie Ellis, I'm sorry, at Tellus Ellis HQ. My mind is wandering. I'm excited about Raw tonight, which is going to start here in just a couple of minutes. So again, a lot of content coming up soon. I keep mentioning having another guest on, which I think is happening. I'm doing another rewind sessions. I know what it is. That's going to be happening soon. I want to get Murph on to talk post-draft about what teams improve the most and so forth. So it's been a good run of shows. Excited to be with you, and I will talk to you soon. Enjoy.